Shalom, and thank you for watching. Welcome to Torah, Jewce. My name's Joshua, and we are beginning the book of Shemot today, this week. And, of course, like every other Parsha, there's just so much. But we don't have the time to fully go through every little thing. That's why we continue to do this on a yearly basis as well. But what I'd like to concentrate on today, and something that I think sometimes is overlooked, and sometimes is maybe a little confusing, and that's why it's overlooked, is when Hashem calls out to Moshe when he's in the desert at the burning bush. What was the response of Moshe? Hashem saw, this is in chapter 3, verse 4. Hashem saw that he turned aside to see, and this is Moshe, and God called out to him from amid the bush, and he said, Moshe, Moshe. And then Moshe replied. Do you remember what he replied? If you have your Torahs with you, you will see that he replied, Here I am. Here I am. Now that may sound very familiar to you. If you remember when Abraham was taking Yitzhak to sacrifice him, the same response was given. Why would he say, Here I am? Why would Hashem call out to Moshe? Hashem knew where Moshe was. Moshe knew where Moshe was. The sages teach us that this response, Here I am, is the response from a tzaddik. It's a response from a righteous person, and it's a humble response. Now it may seem like it's not too humble, going, Here I am. But that's not how he did it. Here I am. Here I am fully. Here I am completely. You know, I believe that Hashem calls out to each one of us. He calls out to each one of us, if you want to say from the burning bush, from the Torah, from our life's experiences, our trials. Hashem calls out to each one of us. And he calls your name. And he's looking for your response. Too many times our responses are negative and full of selfishness, and we respond in anger to Hashem for things that are happening to us. We respond with impatience. We respond in all these human emotional ways. And what we should strive to work towards is to respond to Hashem when he calls out to us. To respond to him in the same way that our forefathers and the righteous holy Moshe, how he responded to Hashem when he was called upon. Hashem calls out to him from the bush, and he says, Moshe, Moshe. And he responds. He says, Here I am. Here I am. What is the Hebrew term? The Hebrew term. It says, Vayomer Moshe, Moshe. And he called out to him, Moshe, Moshe. Vayomer, and he said, Hineni. Hineni. You know what that Hine means, to behold. Behold me, literally, is what it says. Behold me. Behold me. Here I am. See me. You should cry out to Hashem. He sees us. He sees the real us. He sees the fleshly us. He sees the us that is engrossed in worldly activities, and he sees our sin. He sees our good deeds. He sees our struggles, because everything comes from Hashem. and everything that comes is for our very best. But we could probably, as we've talked about before, we could probably not have as many trials and tribulations in our life if we would just be obedient. See, a lot of those are come to us because it's our own doing. Now, why was Moshe in the desert? Well, he fled to Midian because he had killed the Egyptian, remember? And he had gone to Midian, and he was out in the field. He was shepherding the flocks in the burning bush, and he came to him. He says, "Here I am." And then Hashem says, "Do not come any closer. Remove your shoes from your feet, for this place upon which you stand is holy ground." And then he reveals himself. "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov." And it says Moshe hid his face because he was afraid to gaze toward God. You think this is even for the righteous Moshe, this is a human response. When Hashem calls out to us and he says, "Joshua, Joshua," and I say, "Don't call to me, God, because I'm afraid, I don't know, or I'm just too wrapped up in my life and what I'm doing that I don't have time. I don't want to make time. I want to just do what I want to do and how I want to do it. I want it to be my way," which is usually the wrong way and the way that gets me into trouble. And we're so arrogant that instead of hiding our face from God, instead of being humble before Hashem, we stand with an arrogant neck and we complain to God about our lot, and we complain to God about what He has done and how He rules the world. And quite frankly, that's idolatry, and that's something we should not do. We complain about how we may be poor, our bills are too much to bear, or the world seems to be going crazy around us. Have we forgotten that Hashem is in control? Have we forgotten that He's in control and that nothing happens outside of His control? There's only one power in the world, and that's Hashem. Have we forgotten? We must remember. We must remember. Hashem is in control. But he humbled himself. Moshe humbled himself. He wouldn't gaze to the holiness. And then Hashem begins to tell him about what his purpose is going to be. Maybe we can learn from this. When Hashem calls to us, instead of running and hiding, we should say, "Hineni, Hineni, behold me, here I am, Hashem." And let's remove our shoes. And what does that mean? It could mean let's remove and cast off all of the sin and make ourselves holy before a holy God, and to cleanse ourselves and remove all of the encumbrances of the world, the materialism, and all of the desires of the flesh, and come purely and holy before our God, our Creator, and receive the direction of which He wishes to impart to us, so that we may, in our own sphere of influence, in our own place where Hashem has put us, can make a difference as Moshe did. Sure, we may not make the miraculous, incredible impact that Moshe did by leading the entire people out of Egypt. But what Hashem calls each and every one of us to do is so important, and it connects the world together, and we can't just push it off as if it doesn't matter. Okay? Thank you for watching. Hope this Torah portion has been enlightening to you. Remember, when Hashem calls out, say, "Hineni, here I am." Shalom, shalom.